There is far too much evil and suffering for me to believe God loves all of us. What do you mean God loves all of us? What about the little 3-year-old kid who's dying of cancer? Does God love a kid who's dying of cancer?
Yes, God loves.
How do you know that?
Because
The kid's dying of cancer.
Because God is love. God,
Well, how do you know that?
hey, it says that in your book, man.
Oh, okay, good. Now you've moved into another direction, which is God has opened up and revealed that God really loves.
So based on what you say, do you feel we're separate from God?
Yes, I'm convinced that we are separate from God. Someone once asked Henry David Thoreau, have you made your peace with God? And Henry David Thoreau said, I didn't know there was a problem. Well, unfortunately, there is a problem. We are separated from God according to Christ.
Okay, but if we don't listen to Christ, then we're not particularly obviously separated from God. If we go back to Genesis, in the beginning there was the Word. And then God basically said, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Now, knowledge is from memory. So without memory, without knowledge, there can be no separation of us from God. Because God is before knowledge, God is before thought.
What do you mean when you say God is before thought, God is before knowledge? What does that mean?
Where does thought and knowledge come from?
It comes from a thinking mind.
Where does that come from?
It comes from God.
Thank you.
And God is a thinking mind. So knowledge
God
is...
is not a mind. God is before mind.
No, God is not before mind.
Mind is a
God is...
concept.
No, God, mind is not a concept. Mind is a reality. I have a real mind. You have a real mind. I have a real brain. You have a real brain.
We have a brain. What's your mind?
Your mind is part of your brain.
Is it?
It's a synonym.
It's
Yeah,
not a synonym.
mind and brain are synonyms.
No.
You have a rational mind, a brain, and ability to think reasonably. So do I hope.
But if I don't have that, I still have a brain. And God is still before all of that.
Yeah, but God is a thinking being.
No.
Well, then how does God create? If God doesn't think, how does God create?
God creates. He doesn't need to think. People think. There are smart people, there are dumb people, but they all think. God is before all that.
All right, well, the Bible reveals that God is all-knowing. He's omniscient. He's all-knowing. Well, if God is all-knowing, it means that God thinks. God has a mind.
No, thinking is a process. Thinking comes after perception.
Thinking comes after perception. What does that mean?
Thinking before perception is prejudice. Granted?
Thinking before perception is prejudice?
If I hate all people that are tall, then I think that before I even perceive that person, then that's a prejudice. It's a prejudging.
Yeah, I think that if you hate all people before even knowing people, you're a bigoted fool.
Right. And God loves all people.
God loves all people.
That's before thought. That's compassion.
Well, no, God loves me in spite of the fact that he knows me.
Exactly. He loves all people in spite of the fact.
Yeah, I'm positive God loves you.
Yes.
Oh, I'd go to the bank on that any day. Yeah, the amazing message of Jesus Christ is that God knows all about my sins, all about my problems, and he still loves me.
Of course.
That is the quality of God's love for me. But that is not a mindless love. God understands that I'm a cosmic rebel. I've committed cosmic treason against God. He understands that, and he still loves me.